Sawadee everyone, and welcome to this week's training.
Sawadee.
This week we'll be working with a front push kick and more specifically 3 variations, namely our Teep dtrong, our Teep son, and our Teep ting.
So we're going to be looking more specifically at the placement of your foot. So the placement of your foot, how you're connecting with your foot to your target, is going to influence how you use your teep.
Now the difference between these 3 types of front push kicks is that with your Teep dtrong, you're hitting with the ball of your foot.
Your teep dtrong is your longest range weapon, the full length of your leg essentially. It's used mostly defensively to keep your opponent away from you at your leg's length. It can be used more offensively if you put a bit more power from behind, so coming through with your rear teep dtrong. Teep dtrong, you've got to remember the thrust in your hip, so that any power that's coming through is really coming from a thrust forward with your hip. So the basic action is to lift, push out, in, and down again. Lift, out, in, down.
And that way we're also working on our hip muscles in case our foot gets caught by our opponent. In that circumstance, we'd be able to pull our foot out, and that can come in very useful in a real fight situation.
You can either drop your hand or keep your hands up. Because you're at a long range distance, it's reasonably safe to drop your hand depending on your height compared to your opponent. So if you're short and don't have as long a reach as your opponent, you may want to rather keep it up. If you're tall and you're sure that your teep is going to keep your opponent away, you can drop your hand. It gives you a little bit of extra thrust with your hip. So your teep dtrong is connecting with the ball of your foot, this section of your foot, and this makes it an extra long weapon because you have the full length of your leg, then pushing your ankle down to connect with the ball of your foot. You are making it a little bit longer.
And with your Teep ting, you're hitting with the whole foot.
So why would you want to connect with your full foot? So first of all, the disadvantages are that you're losing a little bit of your range by doing that. So compared to when you're connecting with your with the ball of your foot, you've got a little bit of extra strength, extra length from your foot. If you're connecting with your full foot, that is shortened slightly. So you're losing a little bit of distance. Also, the force that you're able to put through with your kick is going to be reduced in proportion to the surface area that you're connecting with. So connecting with a smaller surface area allows you to put more power through. Connecting with a bigger surface area, that power is dissipated across that surface area. So at any one point, there's a little bit of less power coming through. However, this can be balanced out. So your loss of power from connecting with a bigger surface area can be balanced by the fact that when you're connecting with your full foot or with your heel, you don't lose power through the flexing of your ankle. So when you connect with the ball of your foot, if you don't have strength in your ankle, as you connect, that foot can come back and that loses some power of your kick. Whereas if you're connecting full foot or with heel, because you're taking out the ankle joint as a factor, more power can potentially go through.
With your Teep son, you're hitting with the heel.
So again, you're shortening your distance slightly because you're taking away the length of your foot, but you are reducing the flexibility, or you're taking out the effect of your ankle joint and the flexibility in your ankle joint that may reduce the power that goes through. And your heel is quite a hard surface, so this could potentially have a much harder impact than the ball of your foot. When would you use these different variations of your teep? So as I said, with your regular dtrong, you use it nicely defensively to keep your opponent away, because you're using the full length of your leg as well as your foot. It's your longest range weapon. Usually it's connecting the body or the chin, so the area that you're connecting is relatively large, especially if you are using your teep as a defense against an attack that's coming through. So for example, against cross punch, where your opponent's body turns to be more square towards you, you've got a nice big surface area for your teep. Same if you're blocking or countering a roundhouse. As that roundhouse come round, your opponent's body is turned squarely to you, creates a nice surface area. So dtrong with the ball of your foot is a good technique to use. If you want to block a technique that has a smaller target area, so for example, if you want to block a roundhouse that's coming through by connecting the thigh, so if your target area is the thigh, it's going to be a lot smaller than the body. So you may then want to use a full foot teep, so your ting. Also with the roundhouse, blocking the roundhouse, you're going to want to turn your foot slightly out so that you're connecting that thigh at a good angle to ensure that there's a good surface area to block it. You don't want to accidentally have that kick slip to the groin or accidentally kick the knee. With the heel, as I said, that heel is a harder surface, so you can use it for a bit more of an impact. Good one to the solar plexus to get that heel in there, good to the waist. It's a little bit, again, that surface area is a little bit small to want to use it as a target to the thigh, but if you're precise, you can use it to the thigh. A heel on the thigh is going to hurt that muscle quite a lot, but there is a danger that that heel is going to slip off and you're not going to have the impact that you want. So those are just some of the different ways that you might want to use the variations of your teep.
There are a few things that we should keep in mind when performing a push kick. The first one is more applicable to a front push kick, which is not moving our back foot closer before lifting our knee up to strike. That might give it away, and our opponent can see after our first, second, or third kick that that's the cue, that that's what we do before we attack with a push kick. Another thing that we don't want to do is drop our guard and drop our weight back, even if we believe that it helps us with counterbalancing. It's more useful if we engage our core more and stay as straight up as we can and touch our gloves to our forehead if you're struggling with keeping our guard up.
Your first exercise is the straightforward lead dtrong, so that's your front leg. Focus on the use of your hips, thrusting your hips forward without losing your balance backwards. Second exercise is now your rear dtrong, so now you're bringing it from behind. You still want to think about your hip and thrusting that hip forward as you stretch out your leg. Exercise 3 focuses on you being light on your feet. So you're going to block with your lead leg straight into lead push teep, the dtrong, and blocking again. So each time you need to bounce off your toes, be light on your feet, so those legs are quick. Exercise 4 now asks you to work on that strength in your hip. So from your first block, you're going to go directly into your teep without putting your foot down, followed by another block directly after your teep. which means you have 3 movements before putting your foot down.
Sawadee guys, for our fifth combo we're going to start with a knee block or cow bang in Thai to the outside, so it would be cow bang knock. And then without putting our foot down, we're going to strike with a front push kick. You can do any of the 3 variations that we worked on. Right after that, we're going to strike with a roundhouse kick. Now, because we're setting up a roundhouse kick, it's useful if we put our foot down after a push kick, already pointing out at 45 degrees. That's going to allow our hips to go through with the power a little bit more. And after our roundhouse kick, we're going to end off with a reverse push kick or Teep blank in Thai. Now, once again, because we're setting this technique up, we have to be mindful of where we put our foot down after our te or roundhouse kick. For our sixth combo, we've got what in Thai is called Bata Lupa, and which translates in English to foot touching the face. We're going to start this technique by deflecting our opponent's punch and then striking back with a push kick of our own. It can be from our front leg or from our back leg. Let's give it a try.